What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 39 of Lobbing Scorchers. This is Ari Lillianwall. I got producer Noah here with me, and Noah, this is not good, man.
You sound like you've been crying all night, Ari.
Yep. Thanks for flagging that at the top of the show, just to give everyone a heads up. I'm getting my ass kicked by allergies this week, really bad, and I lost my voice a couple days ago. Hasn't really come back. So if I sound under the weather on this episode, that's why. I'm not under the weather, so don't worry, Noah. But yeah, I don't know about you, but allergy season is not treating me well right now. It's bad. But another reason I don't feel good is because the Seattle Sounders played last night, and
all-time bungle.
It did not go especially well at the end of the game. 1-1 draw at Lumen Field versus Real Salt Lake, which I mean, I said it on Twitter after the game, but that was the toughest result of the season. In a season that's had its fair share of tough results already, that was the toughest. Seattle were winning until the very dying moments of the game, but I think what made this one tough, they've had a couple games where they've conceded equalizers at the end this year, but what made this one tougher is they thought that they had scored the goal to make it 2-0 right before they conceded, and VAR waved it off. The Moose agenda was about to skyrocket. He had the goal to double the lead. They took it away from him. So we're going to get into all that, break down this game. Seattle's back down to 10th place in the Western Conference, so that's not great. But, you know, as always, we don't shy away from the results here at Lobbing Scorchers. We talk about it all, regardless of if it's positive or negative. In this case, highly negative. But we're going to dive on into it. And then later on in the show, we'll get to your questions and takes and observations about the game. And then we'll hit winners and losers from this match day slate in MLS. That'll be a fun one. There were some good results last night. But before we get into all that, as always, I'd like to thank our paid subs. We have 3 new ones that we got before the last episode. I'd like to thank Joey Pasquinelli, Brennan Murphy, Pete Earls. Thank you so much. We appreciate you greatly. And I'm going to read down the whole list like I always do, Noah. I mean, I know it takes a while, but it's still a short enough list that I don't mind going through everybody. If you'd like to support the show, all you have to do is go to podcast.lobbingscorchers.com, click the little heart, and you can kick us however much money you want. Not obligatory, but much appreciated. Thank you, Rhombus, Nate, Tyler, Owen, David, Christopher, Bill, Mike, Aaron, Derek, Sounder Daves, Dan Pavetto, Mike Standish, Ryan, Eric Stanley, my nephews, CJ and Miles Marinakis, Andy Hill, Ian Mitchell, Greg Hoker. We really appreciate you guys, and the support we've been seeing has been great. No, our last episode broke our record for downloads.
We are so up, yeah, unlike the Sounders.
And like, in all seriousness, we have noticed that when the Sounders take a bad result, it's actually actively good for our numbers. It's good for the engagement on my crowdsourcing tweets. So at least there's that. You know, I know that that's not necessarily the agenda that people care about the most in this situation, but we'll take it. We got to take whatever positives we can get these days. Also, if you have yet to do so, please subscribe to the Lobbing Scorchers YouTube. We're up to 88 subs, so the drive for 100 is alive and well. If we keep accumulating subs at the pace that we have been racking them, we should hit 100 in the next episode or two here. So if you're listening to this and you haven't subbed to the Lobbing Scorchers YouTube, go sub right now. We appreciate the support. Let's talk about this game, Noah. There's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of storylines to come out of this one. So let's get into it. As always, let's start with our lineup reaction. I mean, it was pretty much the same thing that they've been running, except Nuhu was back. So I don't think we need to go too in depth with it. You know, I was talking to Jeremiah Oshan, friend of the pod, Sounder at Heart, in the press box last night, and I was kind of kicking him the debate that we were having, Noah, about Raul versus Jordan at the 9. And, you know, he kind of pointed out that it's an interesting thought exercise, but it's really a moot point if Leo Chu and Pedro de la Vega aren't healthy, because in that situation, there's really, I mean, unless you're honestly arguing to start Moose or Paul Rothrock at the 9, which it's fine if you believe that, but I personally don't hold that belief. But if you grant that with Leo Chu and Pedro de la Vega out, you kind of have to start Jordan and Raul together. Then Jordan goes on the wing and Raul goes up top, and that's sort of where you are by necessity. So I think that's accurate. Just with where they're at with personnel right now, that's how you're going to see the attacking group get lined up.
But if Chu and De La Vega were back, then we would be seeing Morris at the 9 or Raul at the 9.
Well, yeah, that's the thought exercise.
We're debating something that we shouldn't be debating is what we're bringing.
Well, it's not that we shouldn't be debating it. It's interesting to debate, but it's as far as it applies to what is going to happen in reality, it's not really like there's a very set thing that's going to happen with where they're at with the injuries.
And I know for a fact that Brian Schmetzer believes that Jordan Morris's best position is on the wing, and I love Brian. He is a great coach, but he is uncompromising a lot of the time. So you've got Jordan viewing himself as a 9, as a pure goal scorer striker, and the head coach saying, well, I think you're going to be better on the wing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like I've made my stance relatively clear on this in recent weeks, but I agree that his best position is on the wing. Yeah. I know some people don't agree with that, but I just think when I've seen Jordan Morris at his most effective in MLS, dating back pretty much his whole career to when they moved him back, or when they moved him out to the wing initially, when he's out on the wing, wreaking havoc from out wide, taking guys on 1v1 from out wide, sending in crosses, setting up other guys for chances. That's when he's been at his most dynamic. That's when he's stuffed the stat sheet the most. He's still goal dangerous from that position. He's probably been less effective out there since the second ACL. Before the second ACL, I really thought that he was at a point in MLS where he was really cooking out there. But I think there's a much more substantial sample of him being effective and getting on the stat sheet from out wide than there has been him playing up top. Now, granted, he's played a lot more games out wide at this point than he has up top, but I also think from the eye test that's bared itself out. He's had some good games at the 9. Remember, he scored 4 goals against Sporting Kansas City, the club of professional wrestling enthusiasts, last year, but that was more the exception than the rule.
Yeah, and I think another thing to look at with Jordan, not only is he incredibly talented at, making those runs, he's good with getting his body turned when he's in that position and really making those plays in and spearing the counterattack, because you need someone to be able to run onto the ball like that and be good in transition and in pace on the ball, which that's a tough skill to have. Jordan Morris is not the same that Raul is. Raul is this technical finisher who, you want to be dribbling in the box and getting into the final third and kind of maneuvering his way. And then Jordan, you're like, all right, freight train, let's go, big dog.
Right. Yeah. I think that's when he's at his best, is when he's freight training. Seattle got really lucky to not concede a penalty earlier in this game. I kind of forgot about this, but then I was writing my outline and I was like, oh yeah, that was really bad. Jackson Reagan had a pretty rough go in the first half, and he's really had a rough go the last couple of weeks. He had a giveaway that led to a breakaway in the St. Louis game. In this game, I counted 3 breakaways off giveaways that Jackson Reagan committed.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure in the first half. I know he had 3 for the game. I think it might have been 3 in the first half. But in any case, the second or third of those giveaways led, it was deep in his own end. Real Salt Lake gets the ball. So all of a sudden, Seattle's defense is scrambling and Real Salt Lake's on a counter. And Yamar takes the guy out just at the top of the box, and the ref originally called it a penalty. And he went to VAR, and eventually he ruled that it was outside the box, and the free kick went into the wall. But that's a bailout. That could have easily been a penalty kick, and Seattle, just based on how bad a play that was, they deserved to be down 1-0 right there on the merits, just because it was a bad giveaway. It was the second or third time that they did that in the first half, in the first 20 to 25 minutes of the game. There were just some really bad giveaways that were getting Real Salt Lake out in transition. And especially when you're playing at home, You can't be giving the ball away like that. You need to be on the front foot. You need to be controlling the game. Ideally, you have most of the possession, and you definitely can't be giving the ball away that deep in your own end. So it was they were definitely lucky to not be down 1-0 after that. I think up until the Rusnak goal, it looked, I would say, pretty similar to the Seattle Sounders offense that we've come to know and love. There were some good sequences of play. There were some half chances, but they couldn't finish any. They couldn't score a goal. I do think there is one kind of conclusion I was thinking about coming off this game, which is that I feel like this team, tell me if you agree with this, I feel like this team looks at its best on offense in transition.
Yeah.
Like when they're getting out and running, those are when the best chances come off. They haven't really, they didn't finish any of those last night, but as far as what is their most effective tactic, it seems like, maybe conceding a little bit of possession and then trying to win the ball back and getting out and running.
Yeah.
And so I thought this game kind of bared that out a little bit. They had some good counters, but none that they scored on. They finally did get the goal in the second half from what some might feel is an unlikely source. Albert Rusnak gets on the goal sheet with it was a really sick goal, honestly. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, he had a free kick from way outside the box. And he I don't know if you caught this, but he did like a little deke where he kind of looked the guy off. That's a savvy play. I loved that.
Yeah.
He did a little deke where he looked the guy off and kind of distracted the defender just for a second, and then he hits a perfectly placed shot, gets the ball by him, and it goes in. So good for Albert Rusnak. It was a tough moment for his haters. The haters are going to say that it was from a set piece. So it doesn't count, but the joke's on you with that because it does count.
Yeah,
it counts, and that's something that he brings to the table. And he was like, one of the reasons I really liked the signing was because when he played for RSL, which I watched him do for years, I spent years watching Albert Rusnak and Damir Krylak specifically torch Seattle. But he was nasty on those set pieces for Real Salt Lake, and we have really not seen that enough with the Sounders. He has not, like, his corner kick delivery, I feel like, has not been what it was at RSL. He used to rack assists off those. He used to rack assists off free kicks. He used to score a lot of goals off free kicks. With Seattle, he had one really sick free kick goal away at Orlando. I want to say that, last year. But other than that, he hasn't been getting enough of those, so it was nice to see him get one. It was one of the nicer Rusnak free kicks, I think, since he's been in MLS. Like, the distance on that and the placement, and also it's just I don't know, like the like kind of flourish he does when he shoots. He's done it from open play a couple times. It's pretty satisfying to watch, like when he hits him that accurately, and you can see that he was pumped up. I think he's probably aware of the haters, and it feels like with the assist that he got last week and with this goal, there's like almost kind of a sense of relief. I was watching the highlight last week of the goal that he and Jordan combined for in the St. Louis game. And after they scored, it was like almost less a celebration. But Jordan was pointing at him and he was pumped up. But I think he was saying, like, I told you, like, we were going to get one of those. Like, finally. It was like, that's sort of like the vibe I've gotten from these last two goal contributions from Albert Rusnak. But it was nice to see him get his first goal of the season. I mean, I know I just clowned on the set piece caveat, but I mean, it doesn't really change how I view this team's attack to get a set piece goal, I guess. But, I guess that's how you have to get him when you're struggling as much as Seattle has been to score goals this year. So
you got to take every opportunity.
Credit to Albert. Yeah, you have to. It's kind of all you got right now. And he did well to convert that one. 1 goal, 5 assists for the year. So still not, it's still not the output that you want from your number 10, but it's not nothing. And he has been heating up. So at least there's that. Seattle had the 1-0 lead until the very dying moments of the game. But really, I think a lot of why this result happened came down to their game management after they went up a goal. When you're the home team and you're up 1-0, and Rusnak talked about this after the game, it's kind of incumbent on you to push for the second goal. What they let happen was that the game state devolved into what you would expect if they were on the road, which is Real Salt Lake pushing super hard for the equalizer, Seattle kind of being unable to maintain possession, and so subsequently just absorbing a ton of pressure from, one of the best teams in the league right now. And if you do a 20, 30-minute spell of the game where you're just absorbing pressure the whole time like they were, the dam is probably going to break eventually. They got lucky that it didn't break before when it actually did, which was on the last play of the game. But even with that said, all you can do is kind of laugh at this sequence in stoppage time where, I was there last night, and the vibes were immaculate when RBW got free on the flank.
Oh, he torched that kid. He torched that defender.
He torched him. The crowd was going nuts. He makes a great run. No one could stop the kid. That's probably the happiest I've seen a Sounders player all year. He was having the time of his life making that run. RSL is scrambling. They don't know what to do. They've got this 17-year-old kid who's getting scouted by Big Six clubs charging at them. Moose is crashing on goal. RBW's wide open all by himself. Lays it off to Moose. Perfect play from the kid. Moose crashes the goal. Easy finish. It's 2-0. Game over. The crowd goes crazy. RBW, I don't know if you saw this, but he was, like I said, he was as pumped as I've seen a player all year, which is, it's kind of funny in a darkly comedic way in hindsight, because he was so happy, and then the sequence of events that transpired, I would say, undermined that emotion. But it was. We've talked a fair amount about RBW on the show, but not as much because he's been injured all year and he's kind of just working his way back to fitness. But that is the kind of stuff he can do. That's why I think I've said it before, but as far as the pundits and the scouts and the people who analyze these things for a living see it, RBW, I think, has got the highest ceiling, the most upside out of any of these academy kids coming up, maybe possibly including Obed. Obed's kind of pushing that and giving RBW a run for that title, I would say, with how he's emerged in the last few weeks. But I'm just saying, according to the pundits and the scouts, RBW is that guy out of this group. And you saw why on that play, even though they took the goal away. It was a great run, nice assist. And the vibes were immaculate at Lumen Field, except the goal got taken away on VAR. Moose was whistled for a foul before the build-up, before the counter started, which, I actually don't think there's much to be aggrieved by on that call. He undercut the guy.
Yeah, it's a foul.
It was a foul. When I was first watching the replay, I was ready to be really mad and like, oh, that's ticky-tack. That's not clear and obvious. Just let it stand. I see why they called it, but it was unfortunate because I wanted to see RBW get his assist, but I personally don't feel that aggrieved that they waved that goal off. I think it was actually, there's two instances in this game that kind of underscored like why VAR is an important component of the game. Like, I know a lot of people don't like it. And I think there's a lot of issues with the process and how long things take. But as far as the principle of it, like, I'm sorry, you can't have calls like where on the Seattle penalty where it was clearly outside the box. If there's no VAR, they give RSL a penalty on that. You can't have that. And then on this sequence, it's a pretty clear foul on Moose, I think, that the ref should have caught Seattle never should have been on that counter. You shouldn't have wrongly awarded goals like that either if you have a mechanism to prevent it. So that's kind of a side tangent, but I think those are examples of like why VAR is necessary.
Yeah, and I think generally, like, funny enough, VAR is done so much better in MLS than any other league in the world because we were one of the first leagues to implement it. So
A lot of people might not like that take, but I think it's actually accurate.
no, I know a lot of people hate pro, and that's fair. I totally understand. I'm not going to say that the officiating in this league is the best in the world by any means, but in the Premier League, if you watch the Premier League,
It's a terrible debacle.
They are awful at VAR. They don't even know. I mean, I knew Brits were dumb, but I didn't know that they couldn't watch a TV screen and be like, "Oi, bruv, he's offsides in it." It's like they are so bad compared to this. So honestly, I thought, and people can hate me and come in my mentions, but I thought the VAR and the official was not bad last night, and was definitely not the reason that the Sounders drew this match.
No, and to be fair, I don't think that many people are all that aggrieved by that call. But
people with brains aren't.
Every time there's a call like that decides a game, there's going to be a certain segment of people that are upset. But I didn't see as blazing hot of discourse on that call as I expected. Anyway, needless to say, after Moose's goal was cruelly taken away by the VAR gods, I mean, as soon as that happened, I knew that Salt Lake was going to score.
Yeah.
I literally
You
there
could
was
see
no
their
part
posture
of,
just like the Sounders' heads just dropped, posture dropped. I was with my dad at this match, and I looked over at him. I said, "Buddy, we're cooked."
Yep. Yeah, that's
We're cooked.
exactly the feeling. It's funny, like, just I think with how this season has gone, there was just that feeling in the building. Everyone knew what was coming. It was just a matter of time. There's too much to ask. It's too much to ask for them to get that goal waved off and then just see out the 1-0. It would never happen. It would never happen. Not to the 2024 Seattle Sounders. Andres Gomez, who bammed on Seattle at America First Field in the last time these two teams played, bammed on them again. The sequence that led up to the goal didn't see anyone involved cover themselves in glory. You had Nuhu get beat initially on the header in. Yamar got beat on the header back across. Jackson Reagan, actually, I mean, there wasn't really much he could have done. Like, after Yamar got beat on the header back across, the ball pinged Gomez, I believe, and he lined up a shot. And I think Fry would have saved it, but Jackson Reagan, I mean, he has to try and block it. And I think, he was trying to get it to come down so he could clear it, but Gomez hit the ball so hard that it deflected right back to him. And at that point, it's just a wide-ass open shot right in front of goal. There was some blaming of Fry going on, and the Fry washed agenda was taking hold off this goal. I mean, guys, it's one of their best attackers with a wide-open shot, no defender near him from
the six.
less than that.
Yeah.
Like, literally in front of goal. Like, maybe he could have gotten lower to block it, but the reality is when you have a player who's that wide open, that close to goal, there's just a certain percentage of the time that you're going to get bammed on in that scenario. It doesn't matter who you have in goal. I don't know. I didn't think that there was anything the goalkeeper really could have done there. I mean, yes, like, he got megged by the shot, and maybe, if he does the splits and gets lower, he can block it. But like, you need to not give their attacker a shot with no defender around him directly in front of the goal. Maybe put your goalkeeper in a little better situation. I don't know. There's definitely some plays you could point to this year that support like the Fry washed agenda. I did not see that as one of them. That was about the your fullback and your CB both losing headers in the box on a desperation long ball, by the way. Like, that ball that got played in, that's one of those balls that you just throw in the mixer as a Hail Mary when you're down a goal. And like, your defenders need to be able to win their headers and clear that out, I think. And two of them didn't do that, and that's what led to the shot. And their guy made a nice play on it. But I didn't really think I don't really blame Reagan or Fry on that play, but frankly, I think even more important than that is the fact that if you had scored multiple goals in this game like you did in St. Louis, then you wouldn't have dropped the points on that goal. Real Salt Lake's one of the best teams in the league this year. It's not necessarily realistic that you're going to hold them to a clean sheet, even playing at home. They got some guys. They got Andres Gomez. They got Chicho Arango, who didn't even start this game, but he came on in the second half, and he didn't score, but he showed what he could do a little bit. I mean, he's one of the best players in the league right now. So, like, the fact that you conceded one goal in this game isn't that egregious of an offense in itself. What's egregious is that you couldn't score multiple goals at home, and put yourself in a position where one freak concession doesn't cost you points like that. So, yeah, you can blame Nuhu on that play. You can blame Yamar on that play. I say it every week, but for me, it's an issue about the offense more than the defense. I thought the defense overall played decently well for the most part, although I thought both CBs had rough ones. Jackson Reagan was giving the ball away all over the field. Yamar's barely not conceding penalties, and then also lost his header on the equalizer. So wasn't a good game for the CBs, but if you score one goal from open play, you win this game. That's the issue for me.
Yeah, I don't understand the Fry washed agenda. Like, what does that add or take away from that goal? I promise you put the best goalkeeper in the world in that. You know what? Fuck it. You put Andy T in that situation, he's not saving it. Like, what? It doesn't matter that Fry is older or younger or whatever. You are face to face with your vision partially blocked with one of the best strikers on one of the most goal dangerous teams in the league, in the best possible position he could be in. There's no one who's going to make that save. Maybe someone would make that save.
I mean, anyone who did make that save, I think, would get pretty lucky. I mean, it's just like a reaction at that point. That's the third time Seattle has done this at home this year, right? You got the Colorado game where they were up 1-0 late and then gave up a penalty. You got the Vancouver game where they were up 1-0 late and then gave up a penalty and knew who got a red card. And now this. So that's 3 games that you need to be winning 1-0 that you've tied 1-1. That's, 6 dropped points at home. You're 1-1-5 at home. That's all right. There's a lot of records that you could have on your home field. Some are good, some are bad. 1-1-5, that is not, that's not cutting it to like be a serious contender for like a top 4 seed in the West. Like, you need to be taking care of your home field. And the frustrating thing, we talked about it last week, but they've been pretty good on the road. They have 3 road wins this year. That's not bad. And like maybe 1 or 2 ties. So they've been pulling results at the clip that they need to on the road. And they've only lost 1 home game, but 5 draws at home. And then couple of them are 0-0s. Remember, Austin FC came in and pulled the 0-0. And there were some stats flying around out there, Noah, about how their home form has just not been good dating back like a really long time now. It's like 1.3 points per game, dating back to like 2020, the beginning of 2022 or something. So this is an issue that goes back a while, but it's been accentuated this year. Like 5 draws at home is not good. My other takeaway from this game is that Real Salt Lake is apparently the team of destiny.
Yeah,
they are blessed from on high. Okay, so just to break it down, in their last game, they were down 3-0 at FC Dallas, came back to tie at 3-3 on the last play of the game, and then they go to Seattle the next week and are down 1-0 and tie it on the last play of the game. They're now 12 unbeaten. They're pulling crazy results. They've just got they got this chosen aura about them right now. And that brings me to my next take, which is that I'm gonna dish an unpopular take right now, but I'm feeling it, so I'm gonna do it. All right. People really aren't gonna like this. I've gone down this road before, and it wasn't popular.
Lobbing Scorchers?
Yeah. Pablo Mastroeni might be a good coach. Like, he might be a good coach. I'm not saying that he is necessarily, but like, listen, if you think back about his Colorado Rapids tenure, like, he took a lot of criticism because that team played probably some of the most negative soccer I've seen from MLS. But I'm telling you, that's because Pablo is a pretty smart guy. He knows what he's doing. He saw his personnel. He was like, I don't have anybody who's that good. All right. So what I'm going to do is play super negative soccer, try and hold a clean sheet every single game. Like basically my whole game plan is to try and hold a clean sheet by any means possible. And then some percentage of the time we're going to be able to get a goal on a counter or just by dumb luck, or they were really good at set pieces back in the day. They signed this guy, Jack Price, who hit some of the craziest, like nicest free kicks. And he got a ton of assists from free kicks and corner kicks. So they would get goals off that and sometimes off the counter. And then other than that, just play really negative soccer and try and hold a clean sheet. And they made it to, in 2016, they were the team that Seattle played in the Western Conference Final, playing Pablo ball, which was terrible to watch, but decently effective. I'm looking at this and I'm like, I think this is a guy who he understands what he has. And he's maximizing it effectively. Like, you have to give him credit for that. So I gave Pablo credit for that even back then when Rapids fans hated it, like, because they were like, we have to watch this every week and it's terrible. And I was popping off about how Pablo is a pretty good coach, kind of like half jokingly, but like also kind of seriously trying to make the point that I just made. And I had a few Rapids fans come in my mentions and they're like, one of them specifically was like, dude, you need to stop. You need to stop this. This is not a good take. But like, if you look at what he's done with RSL, which let's think back to the circumstances under which Pablo Mastroeni took over Real Salt Lake. He only got the job. He was an assistant on the staff. And then Freddie Juarez bailed mid-season to come to Seattle to be an assistant, which that doesn't really get talked about enough. Like I've never seen that before in any sport. Like a coach leave a head coaching job to take an assistant coaching job with another club in the middle of the season.
I mean, it happens in like, people will go from college basketball head coach to like NBA assistant, but never like in the same league. Yeah,
and I feel like usually that stuff happens during the off season. I don't know. It was definitely pretty bizarre. I mean, I think Freddie was like a lame duck at RSL at that point. He saw the writing on the wall. But Pablo took over as the interim at that point. And they've been ex-dogging ever since. And we've talked about I think Kurt Schmid, son of Ziggy, he's the chief sporting officer over there, and you got to give him a lot of credit for what he's done with this roster. I mean, he's been around MLS for a really long time. He knows how it's done, and I think if you really break down the ascent of Real Salt Lake, a lot of it's got to do with Kurt Schmid cooking. He's made, like, Gomez is still developing for them, but he's certainly been a much more effective U22 signing for them than Leo Chu's been for Seattle. That's actually been kind of a hit for them. And then they pulled a coup by signing Chicho. They did. Chicho is one of the best players in the league. LAFC really haven't been the same since they lost Chicho, and it's because he's got that rare aptitude for scoring goals in bunches that is so valuable. And Pablo Mastroeni has combined the ex-dog mentality with some actually really good players, and you're seeing the result of that. RSL, like I said, team of destiny.
Yeah, listen, everyone knows that I'm an anti-stats guy. That I'm not anti-tactics per se, but I am through and through an ex-dog lover and fan. I think that he is a good coach. I don't think that's even a debate anymore, and people can get upset. But what I think he does so well is the vibes part of it.
Exactly. Culture building and vibes.
Yeah, like I think that 99% of a head coach's job is doing that. Understanding your players at such a deep level that like you're able to get them over a hump or be like, you know what? Everyone fucking sucks. Let's build a tanky team. And then you say, okay, here's our tactician. You send it over to your tactician. And you're like, build us a tanky team. You know what I mean? I think what's great about him is that he understands his limitations and knows what he's good at, and I think that he's really probably the most effective ex-dog coach in the league, maybe in the world. And I mean, think about it. They fired the entire coaching staff other than him, and then the entire thing turned around because it clearly wasn't his fault.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of MLS heads really aren't going to like that take. But you know what? Like I stand by it. Like he got results with like a very not good. Go back and look at that Rapids roster that made the West Final in 16. Go look at it. I did look at it because Seattle was playing them in that series and Seattle won. But that team had no business being in the West Final at all. Like, and Pablo Mastroeni, he cooked that one up, and he's cooking with Real Salt Lake right now.
I'm jealous of their front office, to be honest. Like
I'm jealous. I've been jealous of their roster dating back to last year. I was actually looking at the lineup sheet last night, and I was like, I'm jealous of this. I want that roster. Let's hit the agenda check and then questions. Does that sound good? Now
I am so ready.
All right. So for this week's agenda check, I'm going to tell you who I've got written down, and if I'm missing anyone, we can add one. I've got Moose, RBW, Obed, and then Morris at the 9. Anyone else?
No, I think that's it.
All right, Moose agenda. This one's really interesting because for a brief, fleeting moment, it looked like it was skyrocketing to dimensions unforeseen by mankind after he scored that goal. But unfortunately, it got undermined on the same play because he committed a foul that negated the whole sequence. And the goal didn't count. But you know what? I'm gonna say that the Moose agenda is rehabilitated slightly just by virtue of the fact that, you know, it didn't count, but like he scored the type of goal that if he scored it and it did count, like that's a valuable thing that he would be contributing to the team if he can like make runs like that and just finish off plays like that, but just not commit a foul beforehand. He'll be on a good track and the agenda will be back in full force, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not, because it didn't count, I can't say, all right, it's totally turned around, Moose agenda rehabilitated, but I'm gonna dub it, from my perspective at least, slightly rehabilitated.
Yeah, I'm gonna go opposite. I'm like I said last week, I actually like Moose. I like him as a person. I like him as a player. That goal is 100% RBW. Did he finish? I'll give him that. You know what? He did the bare minimum. So I will say it's like a tick up from like he went from flatlining to like he's got one of those little like heartbeat spikes every like 20 minutes.
Right.
Because that goal,
it was all RBW, but he has to make the run. Like you get
but like that's the bare minimum. Like you are a 9, you see your wings streaking, beats his man. Like it's not hard to run onto that play. And yeah, he didn't sky the ball like he's done 8 times this season, but you know, whatever. I like Moose. What I think it's more important for than his agenda is his confidence, which has been very clearly lacking, which I hate to see in any player on this team, but very much for a striker. So Moose agenda for me, it's not up, it's not down. It just is still, but I'm happy for him, and I think that let's get him an Open Cup goal.
That's fair. RBW agenda, honestly, for me, like pretty skyrocketed. Just like seeing him on that play, I don't care that it didn't count. Like he beasted that play, and you're starting to see flashes of why he's so highly regarded by the scouts and the pundits. That was a sick play, and I loved how pumped up he was. He was getting lit, and like I love to see a young guy get that excited to make a play like that. And you know, they would have won the game if that had counted, and he knew that. But I definitely, like, when that sequence happened, Noah, I was like, holy shit, okay, there's the RBW that I've been told about. There it is.
Yeah, no, that was
nice. It
was so nice because listen, everyone knows that I'm a Cody Baker head through and through. And so when he came on and replaced Cody Baker, and then, you know, he kind of got beat, kind of not. Me and Jeremiah were arguing about the goal where he let his defender, or what seemingly was his defender, get goal side of him. You know, whatever. Regardless, I was just like, man, Cody Baker, I think, still plays that position better. I really like this look. When he came on, it seemed like to me they changed tactical formations and went to a 5 in the back, which really allows for that wing back play that Schmetzer loves. And maybe I was wrong with that, but that's what it looked like to me. And that just allowed him to play more of like a midfield role. And like, what a beast. He looked like prime Jordan Morris out there, dude.
Yeah.
And
that's just something that Cody Bakes for all the good things that he brings to the table. Like that, I'm not sure like a play like that is in his bag like it is for RBW. Like that is a unique play. Yeah.
Yeah, no, like I think that I still think personally, like if you have a player like Cody Baker and a player like Reed Baker Whiting on the same side, on the same wing, it would give you it's like someone, I don't even know what is even a good word for that. It'd be really dynamic because Reed is so good at those duels, which can, he can make a steal in the midfield and push that play forward because he's so technically gifted. And I still think that like Cody Baker is a pit bull and a dog, and he's gonna body your ass.
So a left side with Cody Baker as your fullback and RBW as the winger. Ooh,
that's what I'm saying.
I like that.
But no, agenda is like
through the
red
roof.
hot.
It's red hot.
Yeah.
RBW agenda red hot. Obed agenda. I don't think it skyrocketed or diminished at all in this game. He almost scored. He had a shot from outside the box that the goalkeeper had to make a diving save on, which it was a pretty low percentage look, but one of these days he's going to hit one of those. I don't think he really did anything to strengthen the agenda, but the agenda is already so strong. He would have to have like an insanely bad performance to torpedo it or anything like that. He certainly didn't do that, but he did not get on the score sheet this game. But there's nothing in this game that changed my thinking that he should be the starting right mid for this team in a first choice 11.
Yeah, I think because he was playing defensive mid this game and he drew 3 fouls, which that's always a good thing. His duels were really nice as well. I mean, I saw him spin the ball off a guy. I still continue to be impressed by him. Like I think that
he had a decent game. Yeah. Like, now that I think about it a little more,
and I'm really cognizant of that kind of stuff because I think like I played some of those positions where it's not really like flashy, but it's very much like okay, are you going to get your job done and how well do you get your job done? And I just think that he's really dynamic still. Like I don't love him in the defensive mid position, but I thought he held his own and really like created more dynamic attack out of that, or like link play out of that, than JP has done all season long.
Yeah, you know what was good about Obed's shift was, and you kind of alluded to it, but he did some dirty work. He was winning the ball back when it was in like the RSL was in the attacking end. He was working hard on defense. That's how Schmetz. You get more minutes under Schmetz.
Yeah,
we all know. Really just. Continues to be impressive, very talented player. And finally, the Morris at the 9 agenda. I think, listen, as someone who's been on the side of your best plan on offense right now is Raul taking really low percentage shots and just praying to the heavens that he converts them, and he will sometimes because he hits those on occasion.
Like the one I tried.
Oh yeah, that was really funny. Okay, I mean let's talk about this. Yeah. I mean he tried to. I mean that shot he took was. He forced a save and won a corner off it, but it was just like ridiculous. Like I don't think the keeper was far enough off his line to be trying that, and Raul had his back away from goal and just did like a 360 left footer from midfield, just skied it in the air, and actually, to his credit, made the goalkeeper scale back and hit it out for a corner. But it's just like, all right, I think we're getting a little too ambitious with that one, Raul. But I mean, as far as it pertains to the number 9 debate with this team, I just really don't understand like how Raul is playing right now. There's so many times in every game where he is dropping so far back to get the ball, and he's getting the ball in these areas of the field where I'm watching it. I'm like, why are you there? Why are you there? You should be trying to get the ball like not just closer to goal than that, but just he's way too far up the field. It's like, it's kind of like he's playing attacking mid out there and he's definitely not playing number 9. And we've talked about it, but all his shots are coming from distance. He's getting 0 looks from inside the box, which is historically where he's been more effective, but also just where you want your number 9 to be getting a handful of looks a game, ideally. And I don't know if it's an issue with how he's playing or if how he's combining with the other attackers or what, but when he is only getting on the ball that far away from goal and only taking shots from distance, he's not going to be scoring goals at a very efficient clip. And if you look at the goals he scored this year, I still maintain that his Hail Mary shots are one of the best plans that this team has right now because he's clinical enough to finish those sometimes. But you can't really rely on that. So while I still don't necessarily believe that Jordan at the 9 is going to result in drastically different statistical output, you may as well try it because it can't be worse right now, So I know that's kind of a change from my previous take, but just watching the game last night, I was facepalming a little bit with just how much he has been getting taken out of these games.
He's a ghost. He's genuinely a ghost.
And to be fair, there's always been an element of that to his game where you might not necessarily notice him for long stretches of the games, and then he gets that one chance and he'll get you with it. And he did that to great effect for years, but now he's not getting the one chance, and the chances that he is getting are really low percentage from really far away from the goal, and you're never going to be all that efficient with shots that are from that far away.
Yeah, I think that he Raul right now is the worst false 9 in the entire league. I don't understand what. Maybe it's bad instruction. Maybe it is a tactical wrinkle that it's new and it's bad. Maybe it's that he's old and mentally he's just going through. Who knows what it is? But he is bad. He is actively not good on this team. And what sucks about that is that I don't think Jordan is going to be more effective or less effective. I just think he will be there, but it's we've talked about a lot of pulling players out of their best positions to supplement a position that's already struggling. I kind of still prefer Jordan playing on the wing, and I don't want to see Musovski starting over Raul, but I don't know. Maybe. What do you do? I have no clue what to do here.
You just run Jordan on the wing and Raul at the 9 and hope that they figure it out.
Yeah, you sign someone in the summer.
Yeah, and then at some point you sign someone. But for now, I think that that's the best. The way they lined it up in this game is the best option that you have. I just don't really have much faith that it's going to result in an MLS attack that scores multiple goals in games consistently. Although, to be fair, it has been better as far as the output goes. They had the 3 goals in Philly, 2 in Portland, 2 in St. Louis, but it just still doesn't feel consistent and repeatable in attack. And until it does, you're susceptible to results like this, where if you can only score 1 goal in a game, a 1-goal lead in soccer doesn't mean all that much. It really doesn't. When you're only up by 1 goal, which is a scenario the Sounders have found themselves a lot this year, all it takes is 1 play and that result flips. So you got to be able to get on top of teams. You got to be able to play. They got to play better with the lead. They got to be able to extend the lead when they have it and not just sit back and hang on for dear life, especially at home. It's really unfortunate that the game state devolved to what it did at a home game. Let's hit questions and then winners and losers and then get out of here. Noah, does that sound good?
Absolutely. Thank you as always for your questions. We love you. We kiss you on the mouth with Ari's sick mouth. That's something, right? Anyway, AP asks, I think the Seattle Sounders should be able to score more than one goal in their home games. Ari, is this an issue?
Yeah, I just talked about it, but I definitely agree with the sentiment. If you gave me the choice between them scoring one goal or scoring multiple goals in a game, I would pick multiple goals because that they would have a better chance at winning the game as opposed to giving up the equalizer at the death and drawing the game.
Yeah, that's a bold take, and
it's almost as bold as my Pablo Mastroeni take.
Yeah, so I think you're right on the money there.
Okay.
Sebastian asks, 29K in the stadium for the first time since 2009, non-COVID. Thoughts, gut reaction? Are the glory days gone? Is the Roman Empire falling?
Yeah, it was the lowest attendance since before the COVID days, like you said. Yeah, I don't know what to make of that. I mean, I do think the team's performance this year has been pretty middling, and you also had a Wednesday night game in the rain, but, that didn't used to stop people. So, I mean, look, I think the easiest way to fix that is to start winning some games. I think when you're in 10th place, people just aren't as excited about the team. Like when you're contending, people are probably going to be more inclined to show up and support, which, you can call that fair weather, but people don't want to watch a boring middling team either.
I love the Sounders, and I've loved this team for a long time, and I will continue to love this team. I have been through it all, but it takes everything in me to go to these matches right now. Like realistically, and I cover this team on an audio podcast. Like I totally understand. And
we're sickos, and we're gonna watch and break down every game, but not like every fan is like that.
Yeah, like if you are not enjoying the Sounders, and Mark Kastner said this, and I love this, it's okay. Don't go. Who cares? Like soccer and football and sports are supposed to be fun. If you're not having fun and it's causing you anguish, don't watch. Like you're not a bad person or a bad fan for not doing that. Bard asks, Raul played another 80-plus minute game. We made one sub before the 82nd minute. Why? What's going on here? Why is Schmetzer's job suddenly completely safe again?
Yeah, I would have loved to see subs earlier. Especially like when Raul's having a game like that where he's ghosting. I don't like just throw Moose on there at like 60, 65 and give him a chance to actually make more of an impact on the game. What was the second part of the question?
Is Schmetzer's job safe, and why is it suddenly, or why we suddenly stopped talking about it?
I mean, I think they won a couple games, so the whole Schmetz out crowd calmed down a little bit for a couple weeks, and then they had a really bad result in this game, so people are probably going to be bringing it up again. My take on that hasn't changed, which is that Schmetz is a proven coach. You've won every trophy possible with him as the coach, and I don't really think you gain all that much from firing him right now. But that being said, if the team continues to stagnate and they miss the playoffs again this year, or they barely squeak in as a low seed and then immediately crash out, then I think regardless of what any of us think about it, the front office is probably going to have to talk over like whether a reset in a new era is what this team needs to like get back to where it was in the last few years.
I think some people have pointed out that there was a big decline once you had Gonzo leave and once you had a lot of the assistant staff kind of move on. Maybe we need an RSL. Maybe we need to bring back Gonzo.
I thought you were going to advocate for Pablo.
Oh,
what if they hired Pablo off another RSL swoop?
I mean, but yeah. So Frank asks in that vein, maybe when Gonzo gets sacked, we can bring him back as an assistant, which he's safe for another week. So who knows?
We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that.
And then he also says maybe we need to get Ozzy as an assistant to bring back that honey badger attitude.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. He hates me. He hate me 206 asks, is ownership being cheap by trying to ride Pedro de la Vega as their only signing this year and pretend we didn't notice it was just because he was injured? Should Adrian sell the team? Is he a broke boy compared to the MLS owners now, Ari?
This is what my mentions look like these days. The De La Vega thing is it's so frustrating because basically the whole plan for this season was, they were framing it like, okay, we had a down year last year, Champions League took it out of us. We never really recovered. Missed the playoffs after Champions League. Got second in the West last year, but I think everyone agrees it was a relative underperformance compared to what we expect.
It was a
from
fraudulent
this team.
second place.
It was just more by virtue of the fact that everyone else in the West didn't do very well either than it was that they performed super, super well or anything like that. They were more like a mid-playoff team last year. So the plan was, all right, we're gonna make a signing to address this and supercharge the offense. And that signing is De La Vega, this really highly touted Argentine prospect, and he's really dynamic and creative, and he's going to fix the issues that we had last year. And I was like, okay, let's see it. You made a big signing. Everything I've read about this player is that he's very highly touted and well regarded. Let's see if that can supercharge the offense. But then he gets here and just instantaneously blows out his hamstring, has barely played the entire year. Every time he does play, he pops his hamstring again. So you never know how many minutes he's going to play at a given time. And the result has been it's just the exact same team as last year.
Yep.
That's essentially the situation that we're in. It's nothing is different really about the team from last year to this year. And last year's team averaged 1.53 whatever points per game, which is okay, but you're not contending for Shields with that. You're not contending for MLS Cups with that. You're grinding out results and hoping to get into the playoffs. And the problem with that is, once you get in the playoffs, sure, anything can happen, but also once you get into the playoffs, at some point you're going to play these teams that are supercharged and have tons of firepower and DPs that put up 10, 15, 20 goals a season and 10, 15 assists in a season. And when you're a grinded out team with nobody who's producing at an elite level like this, and you go up against a supercharged team like that with a bunch of firepower, you're probably going to get your doors blown off in the playoffs. And they didn't get their doors blown off in the playoffs last year, but what was the difference in that playoff game against LAFC last year? They had Bouanga, who is just a menace to society and scores just an unbelievable goal. That's the difference in the game. Until you have a player of your own who can match that in terms of how dynamic they are and the output that they can produce, I don't think you're going to get all that far. So you needed De La Vega to be that guy, and the fact that he's just been injured the whole time, it sucks, man. It's frustrating.
Yeah, this is a really hard question for me because I really don't think that it's a simple solution to the problem of this roster. I think that there's a lot of pieces of the roster that are ailing this club, but it's also we've talked about it. Garth put them in a jam and then up and left after Champions League. And
that's kind of a sick move to be honest.
I love Garth. People hated Garth, and I actually, funny enough, I literally had a dream about Garth last night, which I think is probably the funniest thing ever. He's haunting my memory. But no, he was able to get shit done and move players around and do all this stuff. And I think it's funny because Craig Weibel came in and was this guy who was I'm going to do all these loans and I'm really into all of this. And the problem is there's been no depth for this club. The depth has gotten worse from last year. I truly believe that. You lost Nico, who was such a veteran piece. Maybe he wasn't able to go 90 anymore, which he's looking fine in Orlando, but you lose that piece that can kind of supplement week in, week out. Maybe you win a couple more games, maybe you don't. But is it because we're cheap? Yeah, probably. I think that we are underspending, and we definitely don't have the financial means that other teams have, but that really hasn't stopped us in the past.
No.
But I think that one of the things that the Sounders are really good at is identifying that talent that's either lower value or when they spend, they want to spend for a player with longevity like Nico or like Pedro de la Vega, which was kind of their thought with that. I like people want to say he's a bust, but like I just don't think we know. What I will criticize is signing a player that was injured, you sign him and then, or like right before you sign him, he's injured and he already has a hamstring injury and has to leave Argentine camp. Like, I understand like the logistics and the optics of pulling out of a deal because of an injury, but like that's what like physicals and medical staff are for, to like tell you, is this a good idea? And then you run him out and like, I don't know. It's such a tough. I'm just rambling at this point, Ari. You got to cut me off here, but yeah, I don't know. It's.
I just wish we got to see him play more, man. I just want to see. I just want to see for my own knowledge as much as anything.
Yeah, I agree. Depressing result aside, I loved watching Jordan play. Finally taking on defenders and looking like he actually wants the ball at his feet again. Think his confidence has been restored after the past 2 goals in 2 prior games to RSL?
I think so, a little bit. You know, I think for a goal scorer that's been in a drought or having a tough run of form, like all you need is 1 or 2 to open the floodgates sometimes. And I agree, he did look, he's looked more confident, like he's having more fun the last couple games. And, you know, I still think in an ideal world, his best position is out wide there.
Yeah, I agree. That is. I think we've hit every logical question.
Sounds good. Thank you to everyone as always for submitting those. I know we can't hit every single one every week, so I'm sorry about that. But you know, I love seeing the discourse and reading all the takes, and appreciate everyone who engages. Let's jump around the league here to close it out, Noah. I got winners and losers from
I'm excited
last
for
night's
this
match day slate. Yeah, there was some good stuff going on in MLS. Wasn't quite as drunk as last week, but still pretty drunk. For winners, I got Nashville SC. No, they bammed on FC Cincinnati 2-0. They got the new coach bump. I don't know who this guy is, who's their interim coach. Know nothing about him, but he seems like a cool guy. We did some content with it's always fun when there's an interim coach who it's usually a guy who's just getting their shot. Like sometimes it's a guy like of the Dominic Kinnear ilk, who's like an assistant on the staff and been a head coach in the past, and they're like gonna just let him hold it down for the time being. But in this case, Nashville's coach, I think he might have been in their academy or something, and it's definitely a guy who's like just getting his first shot in MLS, and he was vibing. He had some fun quotes that we put in the cider on MLSsoccer.com. So I don't think Nashville SC's season is necessarily saved. I think they kind of are what they are with the roster that they have. But like to see them like convincingly beat FC Cincinnati, who are arguably the best team in the league right now, a definite Shield contender, the reigning Shield champions, that's a huge result for them. And it does show you that the new coach bump is definitely a thing. Like they've statistically measured that. And it does happen sometimes where when you switch coaches, you get hot. So maybe that's what's happening for Nashville. Yeah. I don't know. I loved this game. That's it. I don't have much more to say. Second winner of the week, Atlanta United. And we're going to talk about Inter Miami, but Gonzo Pineda saved his job. 3-1 victory at Inter Miami at Chase Stadium. God, they looked so fucking good. They looked like Real Madrid, the best team that's ever played the game. Yeah. Like that's how good. Atlanta United like can do that sometimes. It's kind of weird. Yeah, he's nasty. He's definitely nasty. He's not having that good a year. Their team's not having that good a year, but like that. Okay, that's sort of why. Remember, I was saying that like I know that my opinion on the Gonzo out train means nothing as like a total outsider in this situation, and I think we're both biased because we both have, we both know that Gonzo Pineda is a pretty good coach from when he was in Seattle and the work he did as an assistant here. So the idea that he's just like this total bum coach that doesn't know what he's doing, Atlanta fans who argue that, I'm sorry, you are tripping. Like, yeah, learn ball. You learn well. Look at Boca Negra, man. That's all I'm saying. Like all your issues, if you gave Gonzo Pineda like a roster that didn't have a ton of mid players like this Atlanta team, he would cook. But in my opinion, at least, you've got a roster that's been assembled that doesn't have like it's not as talented as everyone thinks it is. That would be my assessment of the Atlanta United roster. They've got some banger players like Thiago Almada and Giacomakis. They're sick, but like you need more than that. And their back line is really bad. Like their CBs and their D mids are always just really mid. So Gonzo Pineda saved his job, and I hope he keeps it. I don't think he will, because I think this doesn't really change how I think of either of these teams. But it was definitely a great result for them on the road.
Yeah. And
then
Dax McCarty played, which I thought was hilarious.
I mean, they've been like that. That was one of the things that Gonzo was trying to like turn it around. Was I'm going to put Dax out there.
I have to read this tweet before we move on because it's too funny. This was from an Atlanta United fan. He said Pineda was one of the first to come up to the away fans at full time and hype us up. Yesterday I hate him. Today I would die for my gaffer, my goat.
I mean, that's how fast things change. And then I got the LA Galaxy beating FC Dallas 3-1. I know it's just FC Dallas, but the Galaxy agenda had been drastically diminished in recent weeks. Joey Paints has been injured, which makes me really sad, but he is supposedly coming back soon, and the Galaxy got a big dub without him.
Ricky Puig bleached hair bump? Question mark?
Yeah, I think so. And then we'll hit the losers real quick. Inter Miami beat soundly at home by a reeling Atlanta United team. And Messi was playing. I think Suarez was out there. Busquets was out there. It wasn't like they were resting the Barca boys. I think that's the worst game that Inter Miami has had since the they've lost a few games, but most of the time it's because at least some combination of the Barca boys are out. And in this game, like for Messi to get beat 3-1 at home by Atlanta United, it was definitely unexpected. I definitely thought they were going to do the bit again, where they almost did do the bit again. They were down 2-0. Messi scored a goal to make it 2-1, and I was like, okay, they're just going to come back, probably win the game. But to Atlanta United's credit, they got the third goal, and Inter Miami takes the L. But I mean, it's fun to put them in the loser section for a week because we've been mostly talking about how good they look this year. But I really don't. This doesn't change how I look at Inter Miami at all. I think over the course of a long season, you're probably going to have every type of result, and this is just an example of kind of an outlier game where an inferior team beat the superior team. So until I see Inter Miami take a few results like this over a sustained sample size, I still think they have quite comfortably the most firepower of any team in the league when they're fully healthy.
I did like this stat. This was from Opta. Leo Messi's club team lost a match in which he scored a goal for the first time in over 3 years since a 2-1 defeat to Celta Vigo on May 16th, 2021. So it's been 3 years since there's been a match where Messi's club team, where he scored and they lost.
Inter Miami made history. I mean, okay, so they're still 10-3-4 with a plus 15 goal differential.
They're still winning the Shield,
which is the best goal differential in the league. Still first place in the Shield race because since he lost, I know everyone's gonna want to be on Inter Miami's case this week. I'm telling you guys, it doesn't really mean shit. It doesn't.
And they have Bob T.
And they have Bob T coming off the bench, which is like, man, there's what a different life their fans lead.
Yeah.
Sporting Kansas City, the club of professional wrestling enthusiasts, I'm sad to report, lost 2-1 at home to the Vancouver Whitecaps. They're continue. I mean, they've been in loser section like 3 weeks in a row because they keep losing games. No, they're 2-8-5. 2-8-5.
Good thing their coach is safe.
They're last place, 14th place, bottom of the West table. They might. Let's look at. Wow, the Revs. The Revs are bottom of the league table with 7 points, 0.54 points per game, 2-10-1. How long is Caleb Porter going to last? I didn't even have the Revs written down for this, but like
they're so bad, we're just ignoring them.
Minus 17 goal differential,
Jesus.
1-5-1 at home. Matt Doyle had some numbers about how the Revs are on a pace that's like worse than the FC Cincinnati and Minnesota teams that wooden spoon. Remember when they first came into the league and they were putting up these historically bad numbers, like minus 40 goal differentials and winning like 3 or 4 games the entire year, wooden spooning. But like, that's the kind of stuff that the Revs are on right now.
That's incredible.
Which is, I mean, it's pretty crazy to me because like they were a pick to be like a contender in the East. Carlos Hill, that's it, but like that's kind of all you need, you know. Carlos Hill and some vets. I like looking back on it. We might have been able to predict this.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that I don't do the screenshot predictions. But if I had, like, I probably would have had the Revs like 3rd to 5th, honestly.
Yeah.
And I feel like justified in thinking about them that way, like based on how they've been in the last few years. So I don't know what's going on, but that was started as a Sporting Kansas City segment and became a Revs segment. But I just saw that on the table and was like, holy shit, they are bad. And then finally on the loser section, I got both Chicago and Orlando. Did you see this? So they played to a 1-1 draw, but Chicago scored the worst goal of the season. Have you seen this?
Yes.
Unbelievable. If you have not yet seen it, look it up. Basically, I mean, I don't really know how to describe it other than that there was a ball pinging around is a generous word. I don't know what these guys were doing with it.
They were vibing.
They were just vibing, and then eventually Hugo Kuipers got credited with the goal. I didn't really see how it went in.
It just kind of went in.
And like everyone was just standing there like, oh.
Oh shit! Wait.
Yeah, that's it. Like it's like, does anyone care about this game? Like the game that's happening right now? Both of you, both teams. Like, what are you guys doing? Like the attacking team is like just kind of standing there, kicking the ball, like not really at the goal, and then it bounces around and goes in, and it goes in. They're not even celebrating because they're like ashamed. They're like, that sucked. No one should be proud of what we just witnessed. And then the Orlando's like, oh man, we got bammed on by Chicago. Too bad. Like, am I taking crazy pills right now? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, anyway. I had no clue.
So you like 1-1 draw, but they both go in the loser section for me having to watch that. Like, and of course, you know, the clip gets posted and everyone's like, oh, like MLS, you know, so we have to deal with all that too. But I can't even argue with it on that one. Like, I don't know what we were doing there.
Yeah.
All right. With that, unless you got anything else, I think we're good to call it a wrap there for episode 39. We it feels like we went a little long on that one, so we'll cut it right there. Thank you as always to everyone for tuning in. We really appreciate the increased support and listenership we've seen in the last few weeks. If you want to support the show, podcast.lobbingscorchers.com is where to go. Like, comment, subscribe, rate 5 stars.
Toss us some reviews.
We need
reviews.
We need more reviews to offset the angry ones we've received from the LAFC and St. Louis City SC fan bases.
Just lob your Scorcher in the reviews. Just write paragraphs.
And sub to the Lobbing Scorchers YouTube, please. We beg of you. Yeah, we'll be back at you for episode 40.
Share with Pablo Mastroeni.
After he might like this episode. Yeah. We'll be back at you with episode 40 next time. Until then, we out.
Peace.